What's up, guys? Hey, I'll do a 450 video tomorrow, but let's be honest. Jet's making it boring, so I'm going with the 250s this week because it was exciting and we got a lot of different storylines. Cody Shock is a warrior. But remember, subscribe, guys. For some reason, people are getting unsubscribed. If you could double check, make sure you're still subscribed, or if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that for me. Thanks, guys. Let's get into this.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
All right, guys, before I get into the racing action, I want to point something out that was super interesting to me. David Luongo was at this race as a special guest of Davey Coombs and Feld, which is interesting because he owns MXGP. Could we see MXGP qualifying guys into the Super Motocross and making this a true world championship? Or is this just like the World Economic Forum? A bunch of greedy people figuring out how they can take more money and squeeze more out of this sport. I don't know, but I'm gonna hope for the former and we'll see what happens. Cody Shock. Holy crap. This guy, first off, he cracks his collarbone in Daytona. Then he rides with a cracked collarbone in Alabama, gets it completely broken. So you're like, okay, for sure it's done, right? You gotta plate it, and then you gotta come back. And then there's a 3-week break. Of course, he's not going to race this weekend, and then he'll take the 3 week and maybe come back after that. Nope, this absolute savage. And I reached out to him. The only painkiller he used was Aleve. True story. That's what they told me. I don't know. I guess, maybe a Toradol shot. I don't know, but he fought through it. Oh my gosh. Have you guys ever had a surgery like that where they put a plate or screw into something? It hurts really bad. They literally take your bone, drill a hole, and screw something into it. It takes at least a few weeks for that to kind of set and settle to where it doesn't hurt. Yeah, maybe it held up well enough, but now you're counting on a broken collarbone being held by a plate while you race Supercross 6 days after surgery. Whew, dang. It's not like it's never been done before, but to see this happen on this level and to ride as well as he did and get 5th place, whew. And Cody Shock, let me just break down where his career was a year ago. He's had a rough go from day one. He's just about to turn pro. Well, he's making his Supercross debut for the Michael Lindsay team. Yeah, I know, that's a rough team to start with, but that's who gave him his first opportunity. Breaks both arms before the first race. Comes back, finishes out the season, then he finally does really good on that team, does really good outdoors, and then they pull the rug out from under him, no ride. So he goes to Phoenix Honda, and after signing there, he breaks his jaw. Just a litany of injuries. Last year, off season, he's prepping for Supercross, thinking he's going racing with Phoenix Honda, and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they used too much budget with Joan Ferrandis, and they had to cut some places, and unfortunately, his ride got cut. So there he is, mid-November, 25, 26 years old, without a ride. Do you keep the dream alive? Do you still go for it? Club MX, these guys are awesome. Brandon Haas, the owner, Mike B, they go, okay, hey, we have a 450 bike that we let the mechanics ride. Go ahead and use that. Keep riding until you can figure something out. Then they get the Enzo stuff sorted out, and they go, hey, you know what? Come ride for our team. How perfect has this worked out? This couldn't happen to better people. Club MX, Cody Shock, this is a match made in heaven. And it's a blessing in disguise that Enzo decided to ditch them because have we heard of Enzo this year? And Cody Shock's out there just doing stuff that are legendary. But great job on Cody Shock, Club MX. You guys are badasses. Loving what I'm seeing out of Cameron McAdoo. Do you guys follow Joe Dispenza at all? Joe Dispenza is one of those life coach, guru type guys, and he totally believes gratitude brings success. Gratitude brings in the mindset that you need to win in life. Cameron has fully adopted this, and it's working. He is a new rider. I wasn't sold after the first couple rounds, but I am now. This guy's riding smart, and he's using that mindset. He's going to be champion this year, and that's my prediction. I know he's only a couple points ahead of Vialle, but Vialle still hasn't won a Supercross with whoops. Yes, he won the third moto, but he hasn't won an overall. So I don't know. I just think this is McAdoo's year. He's finally putting it all together. So good on Cameron McAdoo and his new gratitude approach. And that's always been his problem. You've never ever heard anyone say Cameron doesn't put in enough effort, doesn't give enough, or try hard enough. Now he's able to just kind of accept it and just take it in, and it's kind of balanced him out. So stay with the gratitude, Cameron. This is your year. Cameron had a wild amateur career, and he was finally picked up by the MCR team, but navigating the amateur motocross world is difficult. And Coach Rob is doing a podcast. Check out Coach Rob's show about how to navigate amateur racing. It's awesome. If you want your garage to look like a factory setup, go to epicgaragedesigns.com. Or if you just want to get more organized, get yourself a shelf, get yourself a locker. There's plenty of things that you can get off of Epic Garage Design that don't need a complete redesign. Just order something. Head to epicgaragedesigns.com. It was an interesting week to see what Deegan was going to do. How was he going to respond? This was probably the most heated week that I've seen where people were attacking him. It was brutal. I kind of defended him because I don't mind people showing personality, and I want more personality in the sport, even if it was kind of douchey. I don't mind. And like I said in my other video, the AMA is ridiculous for getting involved. That's complete BS. But with that said, you got to come out and deliver. And he kind of did. He didn't do great, but I mean, he was set up. If he didn't make that mistake going into the first turn in the third moto, or the third main, whatever you want to call those things, in the third race, if he hadn't hit that tough block on the way in, he might have been the overall winner. But what nobody talked about is, I don't know if you guys saw, Cameron McAdoo got taken out by Seth Hammaker in that same turn. He just got up a little quicker. Haiden Deegan is only 16 points out of the lead. He's very much in this championship. With 2 East-West rounds, he's very well alive to win this championship. But losing this championship might be a blessing in disguise. Think about this. So once you win the championship, you get a year to defend it, and then you got to go to the 450 class. That'll put him in the 450 class in 2026. With what Jet's doing right now and all these savages in that class, do you really want to throw him in there? If he waits a year and wins it in his first, Jet didn't win his first Supercross championship until his 3rd Supercross season. Next year will be Hayden's 3rd season, and I think he will win the title, and then he'll get a year to defend, and then he'll go to the 450 class in 2027. By then, hopefully, Webb, Tomac, Anderson, and a lot of these guys will have maybe Roxon. They'll either be older or out of the class, and it's a different landscape, and then he can attack Jet. Jet will be hitting that, mid-20s, won a few championships in a row lull. So I think losing this championship for Haiden Deegan, while he sure as heck doesn't want that, it might be a blessing in disguise. Tom Vialle is very much in this, and he might end up being champion if Cameron McAdoo has any issues. I don't see that happening with McAdoo this year. Like I said, he looks like a different guy. Vialle still has to win a Supercross with Whoops. Even though I think he rides Whoops just fine, that's still the one knock on him, is he hasn't got over that mental hurdle. Once he does that, it's no big deal. Yes, he won the 3rd moto, but he hasn't won an overall Supercross with Whoops yet, but he'll get there. Check out Ride Strap, guys. Ride Strap has some of the coolest t-shirts, goggles, glasses, and they support privateers. So check them out, ridestrap.com. If you ship anything using a truck, hit up Precision Transport, pretransport.com. If you're tired of dealing with people that don't give you tracking numbers and act like you're putting them out when they have customer service, call pretransport.com. They'll get you dialed in. So Max Anstie came into this round really under the gun. I was disappointed how him and his team acted like it was over last week after the bike blew up. I didn't think it was, and I don't think he was, being 21 points out with 5 rounds to go and 2 East-West shootouts. I didn't think that's unsurmountable. They did. They acted like it did. He came out. Now it's over. Now that he had this horrible round, now it's over. Now you've got 4 rounds to go for wins, and that's it. And then maybe head to World Supercross. But yeah, I was disappointed at the attitude after last week, and then heading into it this week was just as Pierce Brown is so fast and a little bit wild, and he's going to get on this podium. And if you look at the points race, he's not out of it. I mean, he's 3rd in points. He's ahead of Deegan, but he hasn't even got on the podium yet, which is wild. That just shows how inconsistent these guys in this East have been, but it's been these crazy starts. But, for Brown to really be considered a title threat, he's going to have to get on that podium. Wow, Seth Hammaker is not making any friends out there. Not only did he take out guys at the first round in Detroit, then he had his issue with Deegan, and you guys can blame that either way. I think that was a lot Deegan's fault, but seeing what Hammaker has done just by reputation, the first round last night, Maybe he holds it on a little too long because he took out a bunch of guys. It was crazy that Deegan and Hammaker, both guys involved last week, both caused a crash, a separate incident in the same third moto. Yeah. But, you know, Seth took out his own teammate. It could have cost Pro Circuit the overall win. He has got to figure out these first turns. That's just, you can't do that every single week. You're going to hurt somebody. But that brings me to these starts. A lot of you guys get mad when I talk about a 2-row start. Because, oh, motocross, we line them all up. Guess what? In the 90s, when that was the way that we set it up, the bikes got into the turn at about 25 miles an hour. Now they're going like 45 miles an hour. They're much faster. It's much more dangerous. The margin for error is much less. Now they're launching these guys off a metal grate. They got them set up like dragsters coming off that line. And a lot of people say, oh, get rid of whole shot devices. Well, I don't think you can. These teams will figure out a way to put it inside the fork or do something. I don't think they're going anyway. Metal grates, it's just easier to prep the start. It makes for an easier playing field. What you can do is a 2-row start. How many times have you saw the race and you go, oh, we've got these 3 fast guys. We just want to see them out together to see who's the best. And then Freezy or somebody gets in the middle and ruins the race. If you have a 2-row start, you're most likely going to get all the contenders out of the gate and battling, and we're going to have the best man win. Another thing with if you do a 2-row start, you don't have to have this gigantic wide start straight. You can actually narrow it up a little bit and maybe have another lane. That way we can have lap times that are like 110, 115 instead of 50. If you add an extra lane, these guys hit the track less. Not only does it help make for guys getting off the start without piling up, get your front runners out to race each other fair and square, it also makes more track and less times these guys hit the laps. If they do, 28 laps, the track's going to be torn down. If they do 19, it's going to be in better shape. That's just the way it is. So I truly think there's a lot of advantages and good things. And another thing with the starts these days, they have these guys elbow to elbow. I mean, they're close. You're going to have incidents when you do that. If you do a 2-row start, you stagger them, kind of like what Superbike does. And you do like alternating. And that way you get a little more space in between each guy, which will make for a safer first turn, the most dangerous thing in sports. And then qualifying, which really doesn't mean that much once you get into the main event, because how many times have we seen guys whole shot from last gate pick? It happens, But if you have a 2-row start, it is important to be in that top 10 in qualifying to get on that front row, or top 12 or whatever you're going to put on that front row. It's incredibly important, And if you want to be in the front row in your heat race, you better have a good qualifying time. It just adds another layer to focus on in the intensity and why things matter throughout the night, but it still builds to that main event. Try it at the Triple Crown, next year. Maybe just try a staggered at the Triple Crown next year. See how it works. And if it works, go with it. And if it doesn't, hey. All right, guys, I'll be with a 450 video tomorrow, but man, I think it's going to get boring in that 450 class. So anyway, if you guys need a real estate agent, hit me up. I'm your guy. Whether you need to buy, sell, or lease, hit me up. chriscookseymedia@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you later.